Welcome back to the Manly Mythical Story Emporium. I'm your host, Thurston J.Y. Manley. I'd like to thank you guys for listening and enjoying the show. Today's theme is First Kiss. Yes, first kiss. First time kissing on somebody, locking lips, lapping it up. Whatever. Since I had to do two stories, one of the problems is I have to do two stories on something that you only do once. It's the first kiss. But I have figured out a way to overcome that problem. And how have I done that? Oh, yes, podcast listeners. First one is story is called Juicy Pocket. Second story, Kisses from Warrington. I did find a way to kind of meld the theme to fit these stories, or I fixed the stories to meet the theme would probably be more appropriate. So first story is Juicy Pocket. Second story, Kisses from Warrington. And you should enjoy these stories. It's going to be great. Very enjoyables. A little funny, especially Juicy Pocket. You'll see what I'm talking about. Having that Juicy Pocket. Juicy Pocket and Kisses from Warrington. And before we go to the ad and the stories, I'd like to thank everybody for listening. Please, if you have any theme ideas, because we only have one theme left in what I'm calling the end of season 1. And the next season, the themes will probably be only listener requests and stories from the Moth, or maybe stories from Toastmasters, wherever I can find them online. And I'll try to accumulate those. I'm probably going to do the Moth stories. That way I can use those when I do a Moth, M-O-T-H, Moth Story Slam. But thank you guys for listening. Please enjoy the stories. Right after this ad, first story is going to be Juicy Pocket. Second story, Kisses from Warrington. Please follow me on Instagram. Manly Mythical Story on IG. So Manly Mythical Story on IG, Manly Story at Gmail for the email. I do have a Facebook page, Manly Mythical Story Emporium, as well as find me on YouTube, Manly Mythical Story Emporium. Please, if you're watching the videos, because I get quite a few watches, getting more watches than I got subscribers. So if you can subscribe there, review the podcast on whatever platform you're listening to, share with your friends. It's not just for you. Right after this ad, first story, Juicy Pocket. Second story, Kisses from Warrington. Thank you guys. Bye. Enjoy. Juicy Pockets. When I think of my first kiss, I think of Juicy Pockets if we were to do word association. Because my first kiss that I can actually remember came on one Sunday morning when I was a very young boy at St. Paul Presbyterian Church. Now, St. Paul is a Presbyterian church that's in Lewisburg, and since it's in the South, and I am black, there's not a lot of people that go to the church, because Presbyterian churches that are predominantly black don't come in large amounts in the South. The Presbyterians do have a large push for education, so we have a daycare and usually some kind of school support at most of the churches. But still, there's not a lot of African Americans that go to those Presbyterian churches because they're, like I say, the frozen chosen. So there's not a lot of hollering. There's not a lot of dancing up and praising. You don't get the band there. So it's not as entertaining. I wouldn't say not as spiritual, because I do enjoy, the praising and really worshiping and, dancing and stuff. But we still very spiritual. It's, focus on the sermons. You listen to the sermons. Not a lot of, yes, sir. Not a lot of that in the church services. But you do get good solid word. And it did help me growing up in that church to really study the Bible. And, you get the Bible stories. You don't get a lot of flair. So the Frozen Chosen is the name that I give the Presbyterians. And the thing is, the church was so small that the youth group included me, and usually that was it. But if we got a pastor that came in, their children. So the youth group be me and plus whatever PK, i.e. preacher's kid, would come in. And when I was in the 4th grade, we did have a pastor from, I don't know where he came from, but Reverend Parker came in, and he had a daughter named Linda. And us two were the youth group. And the cool thing is that when he came in, we had We had a Reverend Edwards right before him, and Reverend Edwards had 3 kids. One was considerably younger, but they had 2 other older children that were right at my age. The oldest was my age, a boy. Then they had a middle child, Laren, the daughter. The oldest was Quentin. He is no longer with us. Rest in power to Quentin Edwards. He got sick. I won't give you any other information, but he did get sick, and he's no longer with us. And they had a younger one, Gwen. Now, the funny thing was, based on how he left and the other pastor came in, because Reverend Edwards, usually, because our church is so small, and I guess the pastors get paid from the denomination, really, whatever conference you're in. So a lot of times these pastors don't live in Lewisburg because it's a small town. So why would you live there if you don't have to? If you're making pretty decent money, you're not going to live in Lewisburg. You're just going to drive to Lewisburg if somebody needs you or come down, which is odd when you think about it now, because I'm currently in the hiring process for a pastor at my current church. And I couldn't imagine if they lived in a whole nother city, but that's the way it was. So this pastor would live elsewhere, probably in Raleigh or Durham, and usually come in. And that's what I grew up with my whole life. But when Pastor Edwards got hired, Reverend Edwards got hired, he came to Lewisburg and he stayed in Lewisburg. Then he left and moved to another job or church. He was still staying there, so he would still come to the church, which means we now had 4 kids in that congregation. And then we would have Reverend Parker come, and he had his daughter, Linda. And I thought Linda was very, very cute girl. I was like, ooh, finally somebody my age, and it's a girl. But we started dating just we were there every Sunday, and it was perfect. I guess probably more for her than for me, because I was like smitten with this girl. But she was going to school in Durham, so she's a big city girl, so she could probably have a city boyfriend at whatever school she was going to in Durham, which probably had more guys there. And then I was just waiting on her on Sunday, so she had a country boyfriend and a city boyfriend. But as part of the youth, one Sunday they would have Linda and me be deacons and do offering, and we didn't really help with the communion, but we would just do offering. So the deacon role would be hand out programs at the beginning, come up and get the plates to hand around. I call them pans sometimes, and hand them down the aisle to get offering. And I was really excited about it. But this morning, my parents were dragging, because I was like, man, I get to stand next to Linda all day, and I'm up, I'm ready, I'm dressed to whatever you call the nines. I had the pleated front gold pants on, and I had like one of those fancy colored shirts, because this was in the time period where that shirt, I don't know if you know that episode of the Huxtables where he had that funky shirt that was all messed up. And that's the kind of shirts we were wearing, like shirts that had like patchwork on them. They almost looked like quilts and stuff like that. So I had these gold colored pants and had this fancy silk shirt that had a different color pocket. It was like gold, and they had a blue pocket and then like a gray pocket for the other side, and it was like silky and it was tucked in. And then I might have thrown some other kind of ugly tie that happened to match those colors. It didn't clash, but it didn't look good either. It's like I was the most well-dressed 90s clown. It looked like I should have been in a Belle Biv DeVoe video or something like that. And so I had the shirt, and I enjoyed wearing it because it was silky and the pants were going, so I'm looking good. I know I'm gonna be next to Linda, but my parents were dragging. It was taking their time getting ready, and I was like, no, I gotta be the deacon today. And the one reason I was rushing because I get to see Linda, but I need to be there early, because if I get there early, I get to go to the daycare, maybe grab a snack or something like that beforehand, and that was enjoyable. I get a juice box and maybe some of those graham crackers, the kind that you make s'mores out of. So we get there not early, just a few minutes before church service starts. So my parents go to the front of the church. I run to the back of the church because that's where the daycare is. Go to the back, go to the fridge. I grab the juice box. I grab the graham cracker. And Linda sees me and is like, yo, we gotta be deacons today. Come on, we need to go. And when she saw me, she like looked down the hallway, And I was in the fridge, and I slammed the fridge real fast, and I try to like walk up, so it looks like I'm walking past the bathroom. She's like, no, hurry up. You just go later. And I'm like, go where later? But I had to tuck the juice box, put them in my pocket, and go wait with her, because I'm stuffing the graham cracker. I'm like tromping on them. Come. And so I follow her, and we go through the church. They tell us the rundown for the day. All right, we're going to hand out these plates. If there's one person on the road, blah, blah, blah. You don't have to go all the way to the end. I'm like, cool. And I go to the back, and I realized like I was supposed to take the juice box out and put it somewhere else, like hide it in the library or something like that. But I still had to stuck it in my pocket. And we're sitting there, and the service is starting. And I had noticed through my pleated fronts, because the pleated front pants gives you front butt, that the juice box in my pocket, it was leaking now, because I guess I bumped into a pew or something like that. It wasn't a name brand like a Juicy Juice or like a Capri Sun. So the aluminum foils that they have on the little hole, I guess it didn't hold, and it has been dripping. But I don't really feel it because I have the front butt of the pleated pants, and they're puffy, and so it's like just dripping. The way the box is turned, it's just dripping to the front of the pants. And then it gets time for us to get the plates, and Linda gets the plates. She's like, what's wrong? I was like, what do you mean what's wrong? Nothing's wrong. And I looked down, and the whole front of my pants that I couldn't feel has gotten wet. So it looks like I have just peed all over myself. She's like, you okay? And I'm like, yeah, it's this. I gotta go. Box, juice, pockets, juicy pockets. And I'm like, juicy pockets. And kind of say juice is in my pockets, but like say it low. And I told her juice box in pockets leaking, trying to explain I'm a grown man. I didn't just pee on myself. I wasn't a grown man, but I'm too grown to be pissing on myself. And so now there's pee all over the front that looks like pee on the front of my pants. It's juice box juice. I'm running to the bag. I dry it off, put the towels. Linda has to finish up doing the offering, because I had to tag somebody else in on the way. I was like, yo, this, on my front pants. So now it's two people in church that got peed on. So, and I come back, and after the service, I'm like, Linda, I'm sorry, I got juice box, and I put it in my pocket, and it dripped down. And I kept the box. I was like, look, really, juice box. She was like, oh, I was wondering. She's like, I thought it was something like that. I was hoping you weren't sick or something and peed on yourself, because the only thing you said to me when you left was like, juicy pockets. I was like, yeah, I guess the pockets were juicy. And I was like, guess she saw that I looked sad. She leaned over and gave me a kiss. She's like, it's okay. She said, I get it. It's okay. I was just worried about you. I thought something like maybe you were bleeding or something like that, because I guess it could have been blood with those gold pants and the way it's looking. But that's how I got my first kiss, at least the first kiss I can remember. I tried to do meditation and yoga and think back to the first kiss, but that's the first one I remember, mainly because of the juicy pockets. So first kiss, juicy pockets. A pity kiss is still a kiss. So, Kisses from Warrenton. Kisses from Warrenton, the story comes from the first kiss I got from my wife, because we met in high school. We met actually from two different high schools. We met at a minority medical camp at UNC, Chapel Hill, University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. It was a minority medical camp. It was quite enjoyable. I tried to date her there, but she was dating somebody else. She kept telling me that she was with somebody else. She had a boyfriend, and I guess it was just so I don't like harass her or try to abuse her while at camp, but just keep me at a distance. And she played a prank on my room. She covered half my room in baby powder, which was my half of the room because it was a dorm room. She covered it in baby powder after I was picking on a kid that was at the camp. I was being a butt. So she made sure made that known that I was being a butt by covering in baby powder. At the end of the camp, we had these like books that with little pamphlets. They looked like thick versions of a church program, and we would get everybody's phone numbers, and it had like notes in the back, so you can take notes when you went to the different classes at the camp. but you can get other people's phone numbers that went to camp with you. Kind of a networking thing. But I got her phone number, and I got some other people's phone numbers. And she said, you should go get this girl's phone number, which I didn't know was a test. I was like, oh, shoot, get a girl's phone number. Let's do that thing. So I go get the girl's phone number. She finds out I get the phone number, and then she baby powder some more of my stuff, I think. Allegedly. I had to say thing because, she won't admit it. But I call my wife, my first wife, because she doesn't like that. And whenever she gets on my nerves. So at that time, my first wife was getting on my nerves, i.e. not even a girlfriend yet. But what I did know is that one of the girls that I had dated before her was at the camp. I knew she was there, but she had became friends with her and borrowed a book from her and was reading a book at camp. But she left the book with Faith, and Faith has the book. And Faith was really concerned that I need to get this book back to Jewel. And I said, okay, that sounds like something that could be done. I find this out on the Friday that we go home from camp. We go home, and as my policy is on a Friday night, when I'm driving or when I have my car, is that I would spend Friday night at my grandfather's house. My grandfather lives in Lewisburg as well at that time, and I would go to his house and watch HBO and Cinemax, and that way I can call my friends and I could go out without being, watched by my parents. So I'll be at grandpa's house, and if somebody wanted to go out later, they could call me at my grandpa's, and I'd be like, all right, let's roll. Let's do it. Because it's before cell phone. So I didn't have a cell phone. It's before cell phones were readily available. I think still at this time, it was like the car phones were going out style, because my mom had a car phone. And the phone number I left in the book for Faith was my home, my parents' house. And she realized she had the book still on a Friday night. And she called the house that I was not at. And she asked for, is George there? Because I told everybody at camp my name is George. Because George is my first name. Thurston is the middle name. And only people in Lewisburg people in Lewisburg and family call me Thurston. And that's why I tell you to call me Thurston. Because if you listen to this, you family now. But anyway, they call me Thurston. And so she calls the house and said, can I speak with George? And my mother answered. And she said, sure. And she went and got my dad. He's like, George, there's a phone call for you. And my dad answers, and he's considerably older than a teenage boy. So he's like, hello, yes, this is George. She's like, George Manley? She's like, yep. And my dad's like, yep, this is George Manley. How can I help you? And she said, George Manley went to camp. It's like, oh, no, you want my son. Oh, he's at his grandfather's house. She's like, okay, I just tell him, here's his grandfather's phone number. So he gave him the phone number, 919, gave him the 919-496. And then the rest of the 4 digits, which it might be somebody else's number. My grandfather is resting in power, so he is, you wouldn't be able to call him anyway. But she gives him the phone number. And my dad gives her the phone number, and she calls. And I answer the phone like, hello? Because it's, right by now, it's 8 at night, 8, 9 at night. My grandfather only had one phone in his whole house, and the phone is in the middle room, and he's not coming up. It's near the living room. So I'll go get it. I go get the phone. I'm like, hello? I was like, hello, Pettiford resident? She's like, yeah. So Pettiford is different than my last name of Manley. She was even further confused. And she said, hey, is this George Manley? It's like, yeah, this is me. What's up? It's like, this is Faith. I was like, oh, hey. Because at this point, I was not going to call these people. I felt like it was going to be a bother to call these girls on the phone because they're in different counties. What I'm going to call you for and go hang out, it doesn't make sense. This is a long way. I need to find me a girl that's at Lewisburg High School in the proximity because this is too far away to be going to date a girl. I didn't plan on calling her at all, even though I thought she was interested in me. I called. I was like, hey, what's going on? She's like, well, I got Jules' book and blah, blah, blah turns into a 30-minute phone call. And I was like, oh, I'll come up there tomorrow and get it. But in my back of my mind, I was like, she still got a boyfriend. I don't know if this could be a setup, meaning like she's just playing games because this was crazy girl that definitely baby powder had my room. I could run up in there and be the boyfriend and she's just trying to get him jealous. So I had to call my homie, Jeremy, and we call him Big Thump. So I had to reach out to Big Thump, and he's Big Thump because he's like 6'5", big brother. So I was like, yo, you need to go with me to meet this girl in Warrenton. He's like, all right, cool. I get the directions. The directions are kind of whack. I wound up missing a turn, wound up in the, downtown Warrenton, which they got some nerve to have a downtown. But we go to downtown Warrenton, and I call her again from, I don't know how I called her. I called her maybe from I went to the Hardy, so maybe they had a payphone there. I called her, I was like, yo, this is where I'm at. Where do I need to be? She's like, yeah, you come this way. So I go to her house, and it was in Perrytown. Her last name is Perry, and it's in Perrytown. Interesting. And I pull up to the house. After I drive up and down the block, her sister comes out and says, yo, you missed another turn. So I had to go down the dirt road. There was on this property a house in the front, which was maybe like a trailer turned into a house, then another trailer, and then her trailer. The trailer in the middle was the church. It had a big old cross on it. By big old cross, no, it was a light pole, and they put like a 6 foot, no, not even 6 foot, maybe a 3 foot cross on top of the light pole that didn't have a light on it. And I just thought to myself, I was like, what are you putting on this cross in the middle? I was like, are they out here just like sacrificing cats or something? Like, what are you putting on that little cross? Because this is obviously not a church. This is just something where you really crucify people. But it turns out the trailer in the middle was a church. She was baptized in that tub. Hilarious. I pull up to the house, and she comes out, and we talk in the front yard for a while. And then I leave with no book. So now I came up there with Big Jeremy, just in case there was a fight, and I didn't have the book. So now that means I gotta come back the next day, because it's summer, we don't have school. And the cool thing is, my cousin Jamel comes out. I was like, oh, Jamel, I gotta go see this girl in Warrenton. And, Jamel is far along on being a player than I was. So he's like, oh, we're gonna go see some girls. Let's do this. So he was excited. We'll go see some girls in Warrenton. And I was like, she does have an older sister. Now, Jamel's younger than me and smaller than me. He's like, I don't say half my size. He might have been. It seemed like he was half my size at that time. I done gone from my backup being 6'5" to my backup being 5'1", maybe. So he came up there. He rolled up there with me. And this time we talk, we kick. She makes some spaghetti that was horrible. And Jamel stays with me. And we don't have no problem, but I did leave with the book. And we set up a date. We set up a date for the Aggie Eagle Classic, which was going to be in Raleigh. And I was like, yeah, we need to go to that. We need to do that thing. That'd be our first real date. Just me and her. So I pick her up, drive to Warrenton, which is from Lewisburg. It's 20 miles north. Then we drive down to Raleigh, which is now going to be 50 minutes south, 40 to 50 minutes. So I go and pick her up, drive to Raleigh. We go there early because the game started at, I think, like 3 o'clock or something like that. And we leave at like 10. It was like, all right, we need to get some lunch. We go to the Crabtree and we get Subway. And at the Subway, I get a sub. And apparently I ate it super fast. She thought I had dropped the sandwich. I had ate it so fast. She was like, oh my God. Because she was still chewing. I was like, it's a 6-inch, man. You're supposed to get this done. And she thought I had dropped or hidden the sandwich or something. I was like, what happened to your sandwich? I was like, I ate that thing. And I had the sandwich, ate it, done. She was laughing. We're talking. And right before we go into the game to get the ticket, I hold her hand. And I get me a kiss, dog, right in the line waiting for the Aggie Eagle Classic. And that's my kiss from Warrenton. After going through all that trouble to date this girl, I finally get her a kiss. And I don't think she ever officially broke up with that dude until like a week or two later. Because I remember him coming to the house to get the stuff when I was there, which was funny. It's kind of ironic because that's a situation I thought I was going to be in. And, oh, know what? He didn't even supposed to be there. He just showed up. Yeah. She was there with me, and she had broke it off, but he just showed up because he thought he could just roll through. Dumbass Mark. It's all right. But he left. I get the girl, and, he gets the swerve. But that's kisses from Warrenton. That's how I kissed my wife, who was still dating somebody else at the time. Ha! Kisses from Warrington. Thank you guys for listening. Well, you've reached the end of this episode. First Kiss, Manly Mythical Story Emporium. Thank you guys for listening. I appreciate all the listens and follows. Like I said, we do have a YouTube channel. I plan on uploading all up to current episodes on that YouTube channel by the end of the week. Right now, I think we have about 8 episodes on that YouTube channel. We should be get the last 4 up there for you, so you should have a total of 12 hopefully by the end of this week. I ain't gonna say the end of the week. Let me give you a real date. So by Wednesday, this episode comes out on Monday. We've moved our podcast to dropping on Monday. I was doing it late Sunday night, so you will have it for Monday, but now we're gonna drop them on Monday because according to online, most episodes get downloaded on Monday. So I'm going to drop them on Monday. So it'll be showing up while you're at work. You get that little bing, let you know the podcast come out. So hopefully we can get some more listeners and follows. I appreciate all the support I'm getting. A lot of international listeners, surprisingly enough. Italy, Ireland, Ecuador, Curacao, whatever that blue Curaçao. I call it Curaçao because that's the blue Curaçao liquor. Ecuador, Sweden. It's very surprising. I appreciate all the follows. Please share the podcast. That helps me. And if you want to support, you can go to the website from the link on the Instagram. But look up Manly Mythical Story Emporium on Anchor, and there's a way you can be a supporter similar to that of Patreon, where you can do a monthly subscription just to support the podcast. So I appreciate all those guys that are listening. The one translation I do have for international out of this episode is I did mention Aggie Eagle Classic. Aggie Eagle Classic is a football game that's played between North Carolina A&T University, the Aggies, and North Carolina Central University, which are the Eagles. That is a Aggie Eagle Classic, and it's a very enjoyable game, mainly because North Carolina A&T comes out to Atomic Dog, which, if you listen to previous episodes, Road Less Traveled. I did mention that. One of my favorite songs. Almost went there because of that, but I didn't. But they were it was a very enjoyable game. It was a big deal because we were both in high school, and this was a college game, so it was hanging out like with the big kids, and that's it. I think that's the only thing that may get lost in translation. I'm sure one of my followers named Martine in Ecuador would tell me if there's anything else that needs to be communicated, translated, or, transcripted to you. Thank you for listening, guys. I appreciate it. The final thought or random thought is I think back to before this quarantine and my child sending me a message saying, hey, I needed headphones for school. And he needed it for his test and to travel for the lacrosse game. He sent me a text. I'm in the middle of the day, work busy. He's like, I need some headphones. I don't have any here. I was like, oh, okay, that's fine. Text back, we'll bring headphones to you now. So I leave work because I can pretty much make my own schedule, leave the job, drive to the high school from my job, and the high school's near the house. And I say, oh, I'm on my way. He said, when are you going to be here? I tell him 10 to 15 minutes. While I am driving and stopping at lights, I'm texting him back. I get there. I drop the headphones off. Say, headphones are at front office with Miss Sally. Don't know her name, but I told him the name at the time. Texted him. Headphones are here. He said, okay, thanks. I was like, no problem. I was like, I'm proud of you for asking. Keep up the good work. Good luck on your tests. I love you, and I'm so proud of all the work you're doing because he has great grades. Proud of the work you're doing. His response to that text was, these the wrong headphones, but I'll make it work. I was like, if this ain't the most passive aggressive text, I think at that point you should be able to murder your child with no repercussions. If you send a text back that rude, I'm just saying. But that's just my reasoning. Maybe that's why I'm not a lawyer. But thank you guys for listening to the Manly Mythical Story Emporium. It's me, Thurston Manley. Please like, subscribe, and follow on all platforms. Bye. Enjoy.